I was angry yesterday, not at you but loud. The kind of mad that fills a room and turns it into a cloud. Most people would have left or matched my voice in kind. You just sat there reading like I was weather, not a crime. You didn't ask me to calm down. You didn't say I was scaring you. You didn't take it personally. You just let the anger move through like a storm passes a window that's been there 1,000 times before. And by the time I'd finished, you hadn't gone anywhere at all. You're not afraid of my anger, and that's so like grace. You're not afraid of my anger. You don't ask me to erase the parts of me that burn, the parts that need to roar. You're not afraid of my anger, and so I trust you with much more, with every part of me. I came back to myself faster than I ever had, because nobody flinched, because nobody got mad at me for being mad or scared or asking me to stop. You just let it run its course, like it wasn't going to drop anything important between us. You're not afraid of my anger, and that's so rare, it feels like grace. You're not afraid of my anger. You don't ask me to erase the parts of me that burn, the parts that need to roar. You're not afraid of my anger, and so I trust you with much more, with every part of me. I grew up being told that my anger made me hard to love, that a man with too much fire was a thing to be feared and shoved into a quieter version for everyone else's sake. You don't ask me to be quieter, you just let the lightning take what it needs to take and pass. You're not afraid of my anger, and so it visits me less now. You're not afraid of my anger, and I've come somehow just from being allowed to have it without losing you. You're not afraid of my anger, and that taught me what trust can do, what trust can really do. You're not afraid. So my fire was crying about something old, something you weren't part of it all. Some people would have shifted them, made it about them, made it small, or asked what they could fix, or talked about how it hurt them too. You just sat there in the dark, not pulling the moment over to you. You didn't say I know how you feel. You didn't share a parallel pain. You didn't sigh dramatically like watching me was a strain. You just held the space around me like a room you weren't redecorating, a place I could be ugly in without you needing it to be your thing. You don't make my pain about you, and I never knew how rare that is. You don't make my pain about you. You just stay there in it with this quiet kind of company that doesn't ask for credit or for praise. You don't make my pain about you, and that's the deepest grace. It's such a small thing not to do, but most people can't resist making your tears their performance, or your grief their personal twist, with saintliness or sympathy or their own buried sad. You don't do that. You just sit in whatever room I had. You don't make my pain about you, and I never knew how rare that is. You don't make my pain about you. You just stay there in it with this quiet kind of company that doesn't ask for credit or for praise. You don't make my pain about you, and that's the deepest grace. This takes a kind of self that isn't hungry for the spotlight, a self that's whole enough to not need the borrowing of light from someone else's darkness. You let my pain stay mine. You don't try to claim it or cure it. You just let it run its time, with me beside me, present. You don't make my pain about you, and so I trust you with more. You don't make my pain about you, and every time I open the door, I know you won't make me explain or comfort you for what I share. You don't make my pain about you, and that's the love I'd always feared was made up. But there it is, right there, in you, in you. You don't make my pain about you. Thank you for staying in my room and not turning the light to your face. Thank you for that. Always. Always. sorry just in case. I said sorry when I needed water. Sorry when I left the place. Sorry when I asked a question. Sorry when I took my turn. I was apologizing for existing, and I didn't even learn. You started catching me mid-sorry every day. You'd raise an eyebrow gently and ask what I was trying to say. You said you don't owe an apology for being in your own life, and the way you said it hit my chest like a soft kind of light. I stopped apologizing for things that weren't really wrong. I stopped apologizing for being where I belong. You taught me sorry's meant for hurting, not for breathing in a room. I stopped apologizing, and I finally feel like I assume a little space without doom. I still slip up sometimes, the reflex doesn't fully leave, but you pointed out so kindly that I learn instead of grieve. You're not making me feel guilty for the habit I had grown. You're just showing me a way to finally hear my voice as my own. I stopped apologizing for things that weren't really wrong. I stopped apologizing for being where I belong. You taught me sorry's meant for hurting, not for breathing in a room. I stopped apologizing, and I finally feel like I assume a little space without doom. Some loves shrink you, some loves make you fold. You're the kind that says stand up, stop apologizing for being told that you're allowed to want things, that you're allowed to ask. Stop saying sorry for your nature, start wearing your own face like it fits at last, like it always did. I stopped apologizing, and I haven't shrunk a bit. I stopped apologizing, and the world adjusted to it. Turns out most people are fine with you taking up your share. I stopped apologizing, and I'm finally allowed to be there. I'm finally allowed to be here. I stopped apologizing. Thank you for that. Thank you for not flinching when I started to expand. You stayed the same size, and I grew. Every morning I'm already up, watching the world come back to you. eyes still closed, your breath still slow, but your hand is reaching through the space between us, finding mine without you knowing what you've done. Your body wakes up loving me before your day's begun. You don't open your eyes for a while, you just hold what you found. Like the first task of being awake is making sure I'm around. Then a small smile, almost shy, before your face is even on. You wake up looking for me, like that's where every morning goes. The way you wake up looking for me is the proof I never asked for. The way you wake up looking for me says everything I needed to know, more than any words you've ever said, than any vow you've ever made. The way you wake up looking for me is the deepest thing displayed by a body that's not even thinking yet. I've watched you do this every morning for longer than I can count. Your hand reaches out the same way, like a beautiful daily account of where I am in your nervous system, where I've taken up your space. The way you wake up looking for me is the most unguarded face of how completely I am yours. The way you wake up looking for me is the proof I never asked for. The way you wake up looking for me says everything I needed to know, more than any words you've ever said, than any vow you've ever made. The way you wake up looking for me is the deepest thing displayed by a body that's not even thinking yet. Your conscious mind can lie, your conscious words can fade, but the body that wakes up reaching is making something it doesn't have to make. A choice before there is a choice, a love before the day. The way you wake up looking for me is the love I'd never doubt away. I'd never doubt away again. The way you wake up looking for me will outlive every word. The way you wake up looking for me is the truest thing I've heard from any version of you that wears the daylight clothes. The way you wake up looking for me is the answer that nobody knows but me, just me. The way you wake up, and your hand finds mine before you even know that you're awake. And I love you with everything I have, for doing it. Without trying. A trail off in the middle of a thought I'm trying to find. Most people fill the silence with their version of my mind. You don't, you stay completely still, hands folded, eyes on me, waiting like the answer is something only I can see. And I should take my time. Sometimes I forget what I was saying, and you ask me where I've been. You don't make me feel embarrassed for losing track of the in-between. You just gently lead me back to the thread I had let go. And I find it because you waited and let me know it wasn't lost, it was just slow. You wait until I finish my sentence, and no one ever did that before. You wait until I finish my sentence, like the rest of mine could be at the door. And you'd hold it open for me until I could walk it through. You wait until I finish my sentence, and that's the rarest thing that anyone could ever do. You wait, you actually wait. The world rushes the speakers, the world finishes the line. The world hands you a different sentence than the one that you designed. You're the only person who lets me have my own voice. You wait until I find the word, you don't make my words your choice. You wait until I finish my sentence, and no one ever did that before. You wait until I finish my sentence, like the rest of mine could be at the door. And you'd hold it open for me until I could walk it through. You wait until I finish my sentence, and that's the rarest thing that anyone could ever do. You wait, you actually wait. This is what listening is, and almost nobody does it. This is what listening is, and the world's lost the gift of it. You give me the entire pause, you give me the whole space. You wait until I finish my sentence, and I get to find my face. I get to find my voice. You wait until I finish my sentence, and every word feels like mine. You wait until I finish my sentence, and I'm finally not behind some imagined timer in my head, some pressure to be quick. You wait until I finish my sentence, and in that wait I am completely whole, completely thick, with my own meaning, mine. You wait until I finish, and now I can speak without rushing, without performing. I just say what I mean, and you're still there. You were standing at the window, doing doing something boring with your hand. And I was watching you from across the room, like a man who's understanding. For the first time that the future doesn't need to be planned in detail. It just needs to be the version where you're standing in the same kind of light. I didn't mean to think it, the thought arrived fully formed. I see my future when I look at you, and the thought was warm. Not heavy, not a vow, not a thing I had to say. It was just what I knew, standing there on a Saturday. I see my future when I look at you, and I don't need to define it. I see my future when I look at you, and I've stopped trying to fight it. I used to need a 5-year plan, a list of certainties to hold. I see my future when I look at you, and the unknown doesn't feel cold. It just feels like ours. There are still questions about everything, the career, the move, the where. But the question of who's beside me has been answered fair and clear. You're the sentence in the middle, the constant in the math. I see my future when I look at you, and I don't need the rest of the path. I'll figure it out with you. I see my future when I look at you, and I don't need to define it. I see my future when I look at you, and I've stopped trying to fight it. I used to need a 5-year plan, a list of certainties to hold. I see my future when I look at you, and the unknown doesn't feel cold. It just feels like ours. I used to imagine the future as a place I had to control. Now I see it as a country where you're walking with me home. And the details don't matter, the route, the weather, the rest. I see my future when I look at you, and that's the only address I need on any map. I see my future when I look at you, and I'm not bracing for change. I see my future when I look at you, and I'm not afraid of strange days that haven't happened yet, days that will come with their weight. I see my future when I look at you, and we'll meet whatever's late. We'll meet it side by side. I see my future, and you don't even know. You were just standing there, and I saw the rest of my life. And I smiled, and you turned and asked me what, and I said nothing, but it was everything. check your tires when it's cold. I stay up till you're safe. I move the heavy things before you ask. I learn the foods that make you calm. But when you look at me and wait for words, my tongue forgets it all. It's easier to love you than to say it, easier to show than to explain. My hands know all the right translations, but my mouth keeps losing the refrain. I love you in 100 silent ways that never make it to the page. It's easier to love you than to say it, but I'm trying every day. Between my chest and lips, the feeling gets too heavy. It's not that I don't want to, it's that the words feel thin compared to what I'm carrying. They never fit it in. It's easier to love you than to say it, easier to show than to explain. My hands know translations, but my mouth keeps losing the refrain. I love you in 100 silent ways that never make it to the page. It's easier to love you than to say it, but I'm trying every day. So read me like a body, not a book. Read the way I turn toward you when they always will. It's easier to love you than to say it, but tonight I'll say it wrong. It's easier to love you than to say it, but this silence went too. So here it comes, imperfect, clumsy, shaking, unrehearsed. I love you more than language, and that's the sweetest kind of curse. The sweetest curse. Easier to love you, but I'll say it anyway. You didn't say I had nice eyes. You didn't say my smile was kind. You said you noticed how I listened, like the listener kind you'd never find. And I sat there for a moment, because nobody had ever said that the way I held a conversation was the thing they liked instead. Most people had complimented the parts I'd worked to show, the clothes, the line, the polished things that I had let them know. But you reached right past the surface to the thing I'd never seen, You said the way I lean in slightly means I make people feel clean. The first compliment you gave me wasn't about the way I looked. The first compliment you gave me was about a part I'd overlooked. You saw me in a frequency that nobody else could find. The first compliment you gave me rewrote how I see my mind. Rewrote how I see myself. I went home that evening different, not because you praised me high, but because you found a piece of me that I had walked right by. For 30-something years I'd missed my own quiet light. You handed it back to me like it was the simplest thing inside. The first compliment you gave me wasn't about the way I looked. The first compliment you gave me was about a part I'd overlooked. You saw me in a frequency that nobody else could find. The first compliment you gave me rewrote how I see my mind. Rewrote how I see myself. Anyone can name the surface, anyone can find the obvious, but to compliment the hidden thing, the thing nobody else has noticed, that's the love that lasts. That's the love that builds, because you're not loving the costume. You're loving what the person feels. The actual person feels. The first compliment you gave me was the start of being seen. The first compliment you gave made me finally believe in things I'd never been brave enough to own. You handed me my key. The first compliment you gave me was the gift that gave me back to me. The gift that gave me me. The first compliment, you'll never know what it did. You probably don't remember even saying it, but I do. I will forever. I will. You asked about my best friend yesterday, not in the jealous way I'd known. You wanted to know what made him laugh. You wanted to know if he'd be home for dinner with us next week. You wanted to know him because I love him, and you don't compete for the love I hold. You just join the chorus of it. I have heroes I still keep close. You don't try to be those heroes. You let them have their place in me without making any drama. Zero comparison or claim. You're not threatened by my interests. You don't need to be everything. You just need to be the rest. You don't try to be everything, that's why you're so much. You don't try to be everything, and so you've got the touch of someone who knows their place and isn't trying to expand. You don't try to be everything, and so I let you have my hand for all the things you're meant to hold. Some loves wanna swallow you, wanna be your only sky. You're more like the constellation that shines among other lights. You don't dim the rest of my world to make yourself stand out. You just shine your particular shine, and I learn what you're about by how you let everything else exist. You don't try to be everything, and that's why you're so much. You don't try to be everything, and so you've got the touch of someone who knows their place and isn't trying to expand. You don't try to be everything, and so I let you have my hand for all the things you're meant to hold. Oh, the greedy love is hungry, the greedy love is small. The love that doesn't try to be it all is the love I trust most, because it has its own ground. You don't try to be everything, you just stand on your part of the round and let me belong to everything. Yeah, you don't try to be everything, and so you're more than enough. You don't try to be everything, and that's the spiciest love I've ever lived inside, with room for everyone I love. You don't try to be everything, and that's why I never want to leave the room above. You don't try, and so you have me, have all of me, because you let me have everything else too. That's how it works. That's the secret of how it works. I sat alone for an hour today, waiting for the feeling to come, the familiar one I used to greet like a roommate, like an old known song. But it didn't show up the way it used to. It showed up fainter, smaller, weak, like an echo of the loneliness I used to keep. For 30 years it lived inside me, my constant, my gravity. And now it's like a language I once spoke fluently, but the words won't come the same. The grammar's gone uncertain. You painted over the wall in me, where I used to hang the curtain. I forgot how to be lonely. And there's nothing here for me to mourn. Not really, not anymore. Sometimes I miss it briefly, like an old friend gone abroad. Not to call, just to acknowledge we grew apart, neither of us flawed. She was the version of me alone. She kept me company for years, but she walked into the apartment and gently moved her out of here. I forgot how to be lonely, and I didn't notice when it left. I forgot how to be lonely. You quietly took it from my chest, replaced it with something steadier, something I can carry into rooms. I forgot how to be lonely, and there's nothing here for me to mourn. Not really, not anymore. The strangest thing about love is it doesn't fix the wound. It just builds something so steady next to it that the wound becomes a different shape, smaller, quieter, almost decorative. You don't erase the hollow places, you just let me have the rooms where you've been, and the hollow takes up less and less. I forgot how to be lonely, and it's the strangest piece. I forgot how to be lonely, and the world feels less like a beast that used to follow me through cities and whisper that I'd always be alone. I forgot how to be lonely, because I'm finally home. Ooh, finally home. I forgot how to be lonely. That's not nothing, that's everything. That's the proof. For years I looked into the mirror and saw what others said. The criticism from a teacher, the voice inside my head, the version of me that disappointed, the version that fell short. But somewhere in the time we've spent, that version has been taught. I caught my reflection yesterday in the window of a store, and I didn't flinch the way I used to, didn't search for what was poor. I just looked back at the man who was looking at me too, and I saw him with kind eyes, the way you've taught me to. I see myself the way you see me, and I didn't notice the shift. I see myself the way you see me, and it's the slowest, gentlest gift. You didn't tell me I was lovely, you just kept looking at me like I was. And after enough mornings, I started believing, because how could you be wrong when you've watched me this long? The voice that used to greet me with my failures and my flaws has gotten quieter since you came. Less time to take its pause, replaced by something steadier, your voice repeating words you probably didn't think I memorized, but every kind one I have heard. I see myself the way you see me, and I didn't notice the shift. I see myself the way you see me, and it's the slowest, gentlest gift. You didn't tell me I was lovely, you just kept looking at me like I was. And after enough mornings, I started believing, because how could you be wrong when you've watched me this long? This is what love does when you let it stay long enough. It rewires the way you see, rewrites the inner stuff. You didn't fix me consciously, you just witnessed me each day, and the witnessing itself became the undoing of every cruel thing set my way. Every cruel thing gone. I see myself the way you see me, and it took me by surprise. I see myself the way you see me, with less judgment in my eyes. The mirror isn't an enemy, the reflection isn't a war. I see myself the way you see me, and I wanna keep on being more the man you've helped me see. I see myself the way you see me, and I like him. For the first time, I really like him. Thank you. Thank you. I told you my actual opinion about a thing that wasn't cool, the unfashionable thing, the thing I'd usually overrule. But before saying it in public, for fear of getting it wrong. You just nodded and considered, then asked me to expand on it long. I sent you the photo, the bad one, the awkward one, the one I'd never put online, the one without filtering done. You said you actually love this version. You can see my real face, and I felt my whole chest unclench for the first time in a long, long age. I'm not curating myself for you, and I didn't know I could stop. I'm not curating myself for you, and the editing dropped off my shoulders all at once, like a coat I'd worn too long. I'm not curating myself for you, and the version that's left is the song, the truest one I've got. Everyone else I'm choosing the angle, the tone, the take. With you I just say things and let them be what they make. Sometimes they're awkward, sometimes I've gotten it wrong. You don't critique my drafts, you just let me be in the song. I'm not curating myself for you, and I didn't know stop. I'm not curating myself for you, and the editing dropped off my shoulders all at once, like a coat I'd worn too long. I'm not curating myself for you, and the version that's left is the song, the truest one I've got. The world wants polished, the world wants brand. You just want me as I am, with my opinions and my hand of cards that aren't all winning, with my views that aren't all sound. I'm not curating myself for you, and so I'm finally on the ground, not floating above the truth. For you, and the man underneath the performance every day is finally getting some air. I'm not curating myself for you, and he's not bad, he's actually rare. He's actually rare, this version. I'm not curating, and you still love me. Apparently the unedited me is the one you wanted all along, and it took me years to believe it, but I do now. I do. I do. I never used to slow down for anyone or anything. I thought that moving fast meant I was winning something. Then you taught me how to pause, not with a lesson or a speech, just by standing still beside me, till I noticed what I'd miss. I learned it from you, how to be gentle with my time. I learned it from you, that being soft is not a crime. The way I hold the people close to me, the way I breathe before I speak, I learned it from you. And I'm a better man this week than I was the last. I used to fight my way through sorry, like the word would make me small. You showed me how to say it first, and how that's the bravest thing of all. I used to think that love meant giving till you're empty on the floor. You taught me love is also knowing when to close and guard the door. I learned it from you, how to forgive without a score. I learned it from you, that keeping count just starts a war. The way I listen now for real, the way I stay when things get hard, I learned it from you. And you don't even know you're the reason I've come this far. You never sat me down and said, now here's the way to live. You just existed near me, and I absorbed the way you give your patience, your attention, your refusal to be cruel. The finest things about me are the things I stole from you. I learned it from you, how to be quiet and be kind. I learned it from you, that strength is knowing your own mind. And when my children ask me someday where I learned to love this way, I'll tell them everything I know. I learned it watching you each day. I learned it all from you. I learned it from you. Everything good in me started with you. Everything. I used to come home tired, and it felt like a wound, like I'd been running for years and finally found a place to swoon. But the kind of tired I was the heavy, hollow kind. The body is exhausted, but the mind never quite unwinds. Now when I lay down at night and my body finds its rest, there's a different feeling underneath my chest. It's tired, yes I'm tired, but the weight has changed its shape. It's a tired full of meaning, not a tide full of escape. I'm tired in a different way now, and I didn't think this could happen. I'm tired in a different way now, with the deepness of relaxing into a life that's mine, with someone who doesn't drain me. I'm tired in a different way now, and it's the kind of tired that gains me back to myself gently. You don't take from my battery, you just join me in the day. You don't add weight to what I carry, you just walk in the same way. And so when I get sleepy, it's because we lived a real one, not because I performed for everyone, and finally got to come undone. I'm tired in a different way now, and I didn't think this could happen. I'm tired in a different way now, with the deepness of relaxing into a life that's mine, with someone who doesn't drain me. I'm tired in a different way now, and it's the kind of tired that gains me back to myself gently. The same word means two things, and nobody warned me of this. The tired could be a settling instead of a weight in the chest. The tired I had for years was a body on the run. This tired is a body home, and finally done. I'm tired in a different way now, and it's the best kind of fatigue. I'm tired in a different way now, and I want to wake up and repeat the day that brought me here, the simple, peaceful day. I'm tired in a different way now, and I'll sleep so well next to you that I'll forget I ever ran away. I'm tired in a different way, and it's the loveliest tired I've ever known. Good night. I'll see you when I wake. Told you about the year that almost broke me. I gave you the version cracks all showing. I half expected you to flinch or change the subject quick, but you took it gently in your hands, like a thing too precious to risk. I told you about my father, the version they don't tell at parties. You didn't simplify the story. You didn't ask me to make it easy. You held the complicated truth the way I'd never been allowed by anyone to hold it home without flinching at the sound. You hold my history like it's yours without trying to rewrite a thing. You hold my history like it's yours, and you carry it so carefully. You don't tell me to forget, you don't tell me to move on. You just take my whole self in, including everything that's gone, everything that came before. I told you about the people who shaped me badly long ago. You didn't try to call them out. You didn't try to make me know that you'd be different from them. You just sat in their wreckage with me and helped me realize that they didn't have the final say in me. You hold my history like it's yours without trying to rewrite a thing. You hold my history like it's yours, and you carry it so carefully. You don't tell me to forget, you don't tell me to move on. You just take my whole self in, including everything that's gone, everything that came before. Most loves want a clean version, want the story wrapped up neat. You don't ask for an edit, you don't ask me to delete the chapters that were hard. You just read them with me slowly, and by the end of every one, I'm a little less alone with my own holy, most painful pages. You hold my history like it's yours, and I never had to earn that. You hold my history like it's yours, and you didn't ask me to recap the hard parts to make them digestible. You just held them as they were. You hold my history like it's yours, and so my past became less of a blur and more of just my life that brought me here. You hold my history, and it doesn't haunt me anymore. Not as much, not the way it used to, because someone is holding it with me, and I'm not alone with it anymore. love me when I'm winning, when the room is chanting my name. Don't love me at my brightest, when it's easy, when there's fame. Those versions come with gravity, they pull everyone in. I wanna know if you'd stay for the version in between. Love me at my ordinary, when there's nothing to applaud. Love me at my ordinary, when I'm quiet and I'm flawed. Not the dinner party version, not the one who knows the room. Love me when I'm no one special, just a man who came home to you. Just a man who came home. I'll get older and get slower, I'll forget the things I knew. My best stories will get dusty, and the crowd will thin out too. The invitations will stop coming, and the phone won't ring as much. And I need to know if that version still deserves your touch. Love me at my ordinary, when there's nothing left to prove. Love me at my ordinary, when ambition becomes a groove. Oh, not the fire you fell for first, but the ember that remains. Love me at my ordinary, and I'll never need the flame. Never need the flame, because everyone loves the monument, but who loves the man beneath the stone, who sits in his own silence and wonders if he's known, not for what he's built, but for who he is at rest. The version with no resume, no punchline, no impressive best. Just this, just me, just this. Love me at my ordinary, when the extraordinary fades. Oh, love me at my ordinary, on the unremarkable days. And I'll love you at your ordinary, when the sparkle takes a breath, because ordinary together is the most extraordinary thing that we'll ever get. The most beautiful thing. Love me at my ordinary, that's all I ask. That's the only love that was ever meant to last. me something heavy, and I searched for what to say. I opened every drawer inside my mind, and everyone was gray. I have no frame of reference for the thing that's in your chest. I've never been where you've been. I can't map it or compress it. I won't say I understand, because I don't, and that's okay. I won't pretend your weight is something I can take or rearrange. I won't compare my version to a wound I've never worn, but I can clear the space beside me, and I can keep the silence warm. I can't understand your pain, but I can sit in it with you. I can't carry what you're feeling, but I can stay until it's through. I won't look away, I won't rush you to the end. I can't understand your pain, but I can be your closest friend. Right here, right now, right through. You apologized for crying, like your grief was an imposition. I told you that your tears are not a thing that need permission. You don't owe me an explanation. You don't owe me pretty words. You just owe yourself the kindness of being heard without being cured. I can't understand your pain, but I can sit in it with you. I can't carry what you're feeling, but I can stay until it's through. I won't look away, I won't rush you to the end. I can't understand your pain, but I can be your closest friend. Right here, right now, right through. The world wants to fix everything, turn every scar into a lesson learned. But some things don't need a meaning, some things just need to burn until they burn themselves to quiet, and someone's still beside you then. Not because they understood the fire, but because they love the person in it. I can't understand your pain, and I won't pretend I do, but I can hold the edge of everything. While you fall through, I'll be the ground when you land. I'll be the quiet when it's loud. I can't understand your pain, but I love you enough to sit inside the cloud, to just sit here with you. I'm not going anywhere. You don't have to explain. I'm just here. That's all I know how to do, and I hope it's enough. was being short with you, snapping over nothing again. looked at me steady and said softly, "That's not you. I know you, and that voice you're using is not the one I love most through." You didn't lecture, didn't shame me, didn't tell me how I'd hurt. You just gently named the difference between my worst and what I'd earned. The version of myself I'd worked toward, the version I'd been growing. You spoke to him directly, like the rest of me wasn't showing. You speak to my better self, even when my worst is loud. You speak to my better self, even in the doubting crowd. You don't address the version flailing, you address the one I'm becoming. You speak to my better self, and he comes forward slowly humming, comes back to the surface. It's a particular kind of faith, to talk past someone's storm, to trust the calm is in there, the kindness still informs the deepest part of who they are. Even when behavior strays, you speak to my better self, and he answers when you raise. You speak to my better self, even when my worst is loud. You speak to my better self, even in the doubting crowd. You don't address the version flailing, you address the one I'm becoming. You speak to my better self, and he comes forward slowly humming, comes back to the surface. Most people meet you where you are, and then they leave you there. You meet me where I'm trying to go, and help me find the stair, the one that lifts me up to him, the man I wanna be. You speak to my better self, and then I get to be him with you. I get to be him. You speak to my better self, and I wanna be him more. You speak to my better self, and I'm not bracing anymore for someone to remind me that I've slipped and I've been low. You speak to my better self, and I rise to meet you every time you call me home. Every time you speak to my better self, and he's coming back now. Thank you for waiting, thank you for knowing he was always there. Everything is working, and that's exactly what scares me most. When the weather's perfect, I keep scanning for the coast. Like happiness owes me an invoice that I can't afford to pay. Like any second now the universe will come to take this all away. You kissed me this morning, and I flinched not from the touch, but from the thought that something this good must cost too much. I've been trained by my own history to expect the other shoe, so I hold my breath inside the beautiful instead of letting it come through. I'm scared of how good this is. Like the better it gets, the worse it'll end. I'm scared of how good this is. Like I don't deserve to feel this again. My chest says run, my heart says stay. My head keeps drafting exits for a fire that's just the warmth of somebody choosing me. And I'm scared of how good this is. You caught me staring in that way that gives it all away. You asked what's wrong and I said nothing, and for once it wasn't pain. It was the opposite of nothing. It was everything at once, and I was terrified to trust it, because I've been burned by what I want. I'm scared of how good this is. Like the better it gets, the worse it'll end. I'm scared of how good this is. Like I don't deserve to feel this again. My chest says run, my heart says stay. My head keeps drafting exits for a fire that's just the warmth of somebody choosing me. And I'm scared of how good this is. But what if this is the one that doesn't come with a but? What if the quiet I keep waiting to shatter is just the sound of enough? What if happiness isn't borrowing time? What if it's mine to own? What if the safest place I've ever been is right here in the unknown? Right here with you. I'm still scared of how good this is, but I'm choosing it anyway. Still scared of how good this is, but I'm done pushing it away. My hands are shaking and my walls are thin, but I'm letting the good rush in. For the first time in my life, I'm not gonna ruin it by being afraid of it. Scared of how good this is, but I'm staying in it. I choose this, I choose the good. We should be sleeping, but you turned to face the dark and said, tell me something real, something hidden, something hard. So I gave you one I buried underneath a decade's weight. And when I finished, you were quiet. Then you said thank you, and the silence wasn't strange. Tell me something nobody knows about you, the thing you hide behind your laugh. Tell me something nobody knows about you. chapter, not the half. I'm not here for the version everyone gets. I want the draft before the edit. Tell me something nobody knows about you, and I'll give you mine in return. He told me something soft about the way you felt at 10. Fear you never shook, a dream you packed away, and then you stopped and said, I've never said that out loud before. And I held it like a newborn, something fragile at its core. Tell me something nobody knows about you, the thing behind the thing you say. Tell me something nobody knows about you, the part that never sees the day. I'm not collecting secrets, I'm not keeping any score. Tell me something nobody knows about you, so I can love you more. This is how you fall in love, not in the daylight with the show, but in the dark at 2:30, when someone says I'll go first and means it, and the other one says okay, and the walls come down, one whisper at a time. Tell me something nobody knows about you, and I'll carry it with care. Tell me something nobody knows about you. I want every layer that's there, not to fix you, not to judge you, just to know you past your name. Tell me something nobody knows about you, and nothing between us will ever be the same, in the most beautiful way. Your turn. Tell me something. I'm listening. I'll always be listening. There's a face you make right before you laugh, a little sparkle in the eye, a small intake of breath. The corners of your mouth begin their slow ascent, and there's half a second where the joke isn't quite spent, but you already know it's coming. I watch for that face now, more than the laugh itself. The pre-laugh is the truer thing, the quiet hidden wealth of who you are before you let the world hear your delight. That look before you laugh is the most private of your life. The look before you laugh is my favorite thing about you. The look before you laugh is the part nobody else gets to view, because they're listening for the laugh, but I'm watching for the spark. The look before you laugh is the secret of your heart, the secret only I can read. jokes for that face, not for the sound. The laugh is just the echo of where the joy was found. The joy was found a moment earlier, in your eyes, in your mouth. The look before you laugh is the inhalation of the south, of your beautiful particular soul. The look before you laugh is my favorite thing about you. The look before you laugh is the part nobody else gets to view, because they're listening for the laugh, but I'm watching for the spark. The look before you laugh is the secret of your heart, the secret only I can read. There are 1,000 faces a person makes each day, but this one is so specific that I know it from any angle, from across a crowded room, from a photograph that caught it, the brief beat where the world shifted just before you started laughing, the most beautiful face you make. The look before you laugh is the gift I get most often. The look before you laugh is the thing that's never softened. Through the years of seeing you, through the years of being known, the look before you laugh will follow me wherever I'm shown, wherever I go. The look before you laugh, do that again. Wait, hold it, hold it. There it is. There it is. I mentioned it in passing, a thing I kinda want to do, a version of my life I'd seen and quietly pursued. In my head, in my late nights, you barely seemed to nod. Then you brought it up 6 months later, like you'd been keeping it on your guard. You said, hey, are you still thinking about that thing you told me back then? And I sat there for a moment, because I'd half forgotten myself. But you had it, you had carried it quietly, gently all this time, like the dream I had spoken once was something we'd already begun to climb. You remember the dream I told you once, and no one else ever did. You remember the dream I told you once, and it makes me believe in it. Even when I forget, even when the doubt gets loud, you remember the dream I told you once, and you say it back to me from the cloud of every other thing I've shared. at the perfect time when I'm doubting and I'm fighting the version of me that's bigger. You hand it back politely. You say, I've been holding this for you. You said this matters, and I believed you. You remember the dream I told you once, and no one else ever did. You remember the dream I told you once, and it makes me believe in it. Even when I forget, even when the doubt gets loud, you remember the dream I told you once, and you say it back to me from the cloud of every other thing I've shared. This is why I tell you everything, because nothing falls into a void. The smallest mention I made you becomes a thing you've stored. And we were. Made a whole evening out of something small, I said. A passing comment on a flavor you found and brought home instead. Most people would have nodded and forgotten by the day. You write the small things down like they're treasures on display. You celebrate weird victories, like I quit drinking soda last month, or I called my brother on Sunday, or I cooked a meal and didn't ruin the fun. Most people would have skipped past these, looking for the bigger marks. You light up my entire kitchen over the smallest little sparks. You make small things big in a world that makes big things small. You make small things big, and you find the gold in all the afternoons that everyone dismisses, the Tuesday no one would recall. You make small things big, and it changed how I see it all. Changed how I see my whole life. Because of you I notice the wins that wouldn't make a list, the moments most people skip, the flickers most would miss. You taught me that a Wednesday can be worth remembering if someone treats it like a gift and gives it life and meaning. You make small things big in a world that makes big things small. You make small things big, and you find the gold in all the afternoons that everyone dismisses, the Tuesday no one would recall. You make small things big, and it changed how I see it all. Changed how I see my whole life. There's a culture out there that only honors mountaintops. You honor the path between them, you honor where I sit and stop. that my whole life has been worth honoring all along. You make small things big, and so my small life feels full. You make small things big, and I'm not chasing the impossible. I'm just living, and you're catching every quiet, beautiful thing. You make small things big, and the smallness now means everything. Ooh, the smallness is everything. You make small things big. Look what you did to me. I see the world with bigger eyes and smaller scope and bigger gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. I told you about the promotion and waited for the catch. The flicker of comparison, the quiet, small detach. The way most people congratulate, then change the subject quick. You didn't do that thing at all. You just lit up like a kid. I've spent my whole life shrinking to make others stay at ease, apologizing for the wins, performing the soft disease of pretending I was lucky when I'd actually worked so hard. You're the first who said it proudly. You deserve every single yard. You don't compete with me, and I'd forgotten that was possible. You don't compete with me, and it's downright miraculous. Most people in my life were secretly keeping score. You don't compete with me, and I'm rising more because you're rising too. When I'm down, you don't feel taller. When I'm up, you don't feel small. You celebrate me freely, like you've got nothing left to wall. Around your own self-worth, like you've already arrived. And the goodness coming to me doesn't threaten how you thrive. You don't compete with me, and I'd forgotten that was possible. You don't compete with me, and it's downright miraculous. Most people in my life were secretly keeping score. You don't compete with me, and I'm rising more because you're rising too. This is so rare that the world doesn't have a name for it. A love that actually wants you to win. Not as a phrase, but a lived script. You lift me without flinching. You shine me up to others. You don't measure my light against your own. We just become each other's home. You don't compete with me, and I'm not used to that yet. You don't compete with me, and every time it hits I get a little softer in the chest, a little less defensive. You don't compete with me, and it's the safest love I've known to give. The that's the whole secret. We're building one thing together.